I used to think the key to health was doing more, like running further, eating stricter, chasing the perfect diet. I was a vegan ultra marathon runner, a trained nutritionist, and in honesty, I thought I had most of it kind of figured out. But here's the truth: as time went on, I became exhausted, burnt out. I was lean but holding on to belly fat, probably due to stress and not getting enough nutrients and missing the bigger picture. When I first started my podcast, back then it was called Eternal Health, I wanted people to reach their peak potential. But somewhere along the way, God showed me something I didn't expect, that the healthiest life isn't the most extreme one, it's the most aligned one. And that's why this show is back with a new name, a new focus, and a lot more grace. Are you struggling with stubborn belly fat, brain fog, or low energy? Do you want simple, lasting health solutions that actually work and honour your faith? Hi, I'm Laura Hargrave, Master Certified Nutritionist, best-selling author, and health coach with over 20 years of experience helping believers like you go from tired and stuck to vibrant, lean, and spirit-led. In this podcast, I blend biblical wisdom, science, and a less is more approach to help you burn fat, boost energy, and restore your body as God's temple. So grab your green tea or your walking shoes and take a few minutes to grow in wisdom that will bless you for years to come. Welcome to Health in Faith. So I've got a free gift for you. If you've been struggling with sugar cravings or low energy or feeling stuck in that cycle of needing the next sweet fix, you know the story, I want you to know there's a better way. I've created the Sugar Detox in Faith plan. 7 simple steps for Christians to reduce sugar and quit sugar addiction for good whilst still enjoying sweet foods. So this plan is going to help you to break free from sugar dependence without feeling deprived, because you can still have sweet foods, enjoy natural, satisfying sweet treats without any guilt, and most importantly, make changes that align with your faith and honour the body God gave you. It's completely free and you can grab it right now at healthinfaith.com. So head over to healthinfaith.com, download your Sugar Detox in Faith plan and start your journey to more energy, better health and freedom from sugar in faith. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about my health journey and background. And I would say that there has been 4 phases that I've gone through over the past 30 odd years. And so I'm going to share these phases with you. And as I do, then just have one ear out, kind of listening for where are you in these 4 phases? And then we'll go into some training on how to improve, move you on to the next phase for improving your health. But before we get into that, let me give you a brief overview of who I am and why I'm qualified to talk on the subject of health and from a Christian perspective. So if you don't know me, I'm Laura Hargrave, formerly Laura Rimmer. And I'm first and foremost, a passionate follower of our Lord Jesus Christ. I'm a Master Certified Nutritionist and have been a health coach and helping people all around the world for, at this point in time, almost 24 years. And I'm a best-selling author. I've written 2 major published books, one published on Hay House, one of the most biggest publishing houses in the world, certainly the biggest publishing house of natural health and healing books, very new agey, I will say. And I self-published a book on a book for the church on the pandemic back in 2020. I wrote it in real time, and that's a big weighty tome that I wrote. And that was a best-selling book in church leadership, of all things. Topic for another time, but just to give you, the books that I've written. Over 2 decades ago, whilst I was at university studying law, then I was an overweight and an unfit smoker. I ate pot noodles all the time and McDonald's, and very quickly, understandably, I felt tired and sick most of the time in my first couple of years at university. After a minor health scare, then I changed my diet. I knew that I couldn't carry on eating the way that I was and smoking and drinking. So I joined a gym and just set myself on this health quest and started out just really small. I remember running the first mile that I ever ran on a treadmill, and I ran it in about, I don't know, like 11 or 12 minutes. And honestly, I felt like my heart was going to explode out of my chest. I thought I was going to have a heart attack at 19 years old. But when I left the gym, I felt, wow, I feel better. And I started eating, just making foods at home a bit more. Didn't really know what I was doing, but anything was going to be an improvement from the kind of pot noodle, Red Bull and cigarette diet that I was on before. Fast forward a few years, I left university, graduated from my law degree, and I went on to become a vegan. I'd gone into veganism, fully plant-based diet at this point, and I was a vegan ultra marathon runner. I also, because now I was into health and I was like really being enthused by the whole health arena, and I thought, what better place for me to work than in the NHS in the UK? So I applied for a job as medical research manager, and to my surprise, I got it at age, 24, I think. So it was a very prestigious job. I was working with high-level consultants, doctors, nurses, and one of my jobs was to write government medical research reports. And I was sitting on an ethics committee, which was in charge of saying yes or no to clinical trials going ahead. So I saw very intimately the ins and outs of clinical trials, who funded them, what the incentives were, what the motivations were, the results, and the ongoing results on patients and out there kind of in the world. So yeah, I saw a lot of very interesting things, a lot of very concerning things. So a couple of years in, being unsettled by the huge influence of big pharma funding on medical research, then I quit my job after 3 years. I was offered a promotion and a pay rise and a nice kind of package, but I politely declined it and left my job, much to the shock of my boss at the time. And I retrained as a nutritionist and started, just set up a website and started coaching and writing books. 2 of my diet books, as I mentioned, were published by major publishers, Hay House, and I was later headhunted by a company in California called Rockridge Media and wrote my second book, both of which on a plant-based alkaline diet, which, by the way, I no longer follow a plant-based vegan diet anymore. Since then, and having been saved out of the new age and veganism, then at this point in time, I take a less is more biblical approach to health that I'll be sharing in this podcast. I've coached over 1,000 people one-to-one and many more in my group programs, and I've got courses online with thousands of students in as well. And one of my great delights in my career, in my health journey, in my professional journey has been seeing people finally get well and energized naturally. I never saw that when I worked in medical research. That was very rare, whereas now I see many, many people get well and healthy, and that is a real joy to me. In my own journey, I feel more vibrant in my late 40s than I did in my 20s. And experiencing lasting weight loss and vitality for me has been a whole lot easier, which has enhanced my walk and calling with the Lord as well. And that's something I hear all the time from my clients, that they want health to live the best life that they can in the Lord and walk His best plan for them out. So it's my mission to help Christians to regain their health, to regain energy, sharpness of mind, and a body they feel confident in. Not only looks-wise, although that's a legitimate part of it, a body that we feel good in, that we like the look of, but also that we feel confident in, that it's going to function right, that we can rely on it. A body that's not in a whole load of pain, body that's not causing us to be tired and restricting us in what we want to do in our walk. So yeah, it's my job to help you, enable you to have good health, to live fully in your calling and power in Christ, to advance His kingdom amidst the rising tide of darkness. I'm sure you see that in the world as well. There is this rising tide of darkness. So this is my passion for what I share here, true health in faith. And I invite you to join me each week on this podcast where we'll be diving into this. So when I think back to the early days of my health journey, I can picture myself at the gym religiously, like 6-7 days a week for 14 years, training for marathons, half marathons, ultra marathons, 10K races, triathlons. I was doing a lot of racing at the time, and preparing my pre-training carb meals was like an art and a science, and it required a lot of time and effort. And I was constantly chasing the next nutrition breakthrough, the next personal best race time. And that went on for years. And by the way, this was pre me coming back to the Lord and being a true disciple of his. At the time, I was very much into the new age. And so I will admit it freely, one of the idols I had was fitness and exercise. So I would call this phase 1. And this was really reactive health seeking. This was a reaction to phase 0, which was just out and out unhealthy. So at university, I was smoking, drinking, eating all the wrong stuff, had gained weight, felt literally, I remember feeling at 19 years old like I was an old woman. Like, why am I so tired? Why am I lethargic? Why have I got no energy? Why do I feel so bad? So that was phase 0. So phase 1 was a reaction against that. It was a realization I need to make some changes with my health because otherwise some bad things are going to happen if I continue on in this vein. So this I see a lot, having worked with thousands of people over the last 25 odd years. I see many people who have unhealthy lifestyles go into this reactive health seeking mode, maybe not in the same extreme way that I did doing marathons and things, but nonetheless, people say, I'm going to join a gym, I'm going to start a HIIT class or a CrossFit class and, do all this stuff and drink, do a juice cleanse or something along those lines. And that's reactive health seeking. So that's phase 1. For me, it was all about performance. I was vegan, I was fast, I was lean, but I was also driven by this constant feeling that I had to do more, be more, achieve more. I guess that was the idol aspect of it in a spiritual sense. But the point here is this was a pendulum swing from my overweight pot noodle smoker days at university. Then came phase 2, and I would call this the striving health seeking. So this was kind of years and years into my fitness journey, probably like a good decade or more into my fitness and health journey. And by all means, I'd seen some good changes. But veganism was beginning to take its toll on my health. And I was seeing that in other vegans also. And the Lord was beginning to speak to me through his word about coming out of veganism and the benefits of meat and animal products. Isn't the Lord amazing? His word, the Bible, has wisdom for every and all topic and situation, has been my experience. I'm sure you can see that as well. So I shifted then into, which in a way was a bit of a pendulum swing again, into a keto-alkaline diet. Now, that is a good diet. It's a very good diet, and I still promote it now. I train clients in a ketogenic alkaline diet. The science made sense. My clients were getting great results, and I felt like I'd found the answer. So just to give you a quick overview, if you're not sure what that is, a ketogenic diet is a really high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet. And for me, that meant coming out of veganism and eating a lot of meat and animal fats, coupled with the alkaline vegetables. And the premise being that your body switches over from predominantly carbohydrate burning into fat burning. If you eat fat and restrict the carbs, your body's forced to produce ketones in the liver and burn those as fat, or burn fat as ketones in the liver. And so you're burning fat is the point. So you lose weight. So for me, I lost the belly fat that I had been holding on to for years, even as a fast runner. and I immediately felt better. So this is really good. And I still very much stand behind this diet and recommend it for people with serious metabolic disease, things like cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, dementia. Then keto, in my experience, has been wonderful. Yeah, I would say this was phase 2, but for me, my health looked good on paper, but my soul felt restless doing this long term. It's okay for a time, but there was still some restriction and the burden of counting grams of carbs, because the thing with keto is you need to be really strict with your carbohydrates. And so in order to make sure that's done properly, you really need to be counting carbs, which is still a bit of a restriction if we're honest about it. So that was phase 2. Then came, well, it was in that space, in the quiet moments with God, that he began to show me a completely different picture of health. No gym membership, not the race medals or the macros or restriction, but a way of living that honoured him without exhausting me. And that's when I began leaning into phase 3, which I call wise health seeking or wisdom wellness. And just as an aside, I'm in the middle of preparing a masterclass for you, a free masterclass that will be called Wisdom Wellness for Christians soon. So I'll give more details of that when it's finished in a few weeks or so. But this third phase of wise health seeking or wisdom wellness is about seeking biblical applications and principles where less is more, rest is sacred, and health isn't just about the body, it's about the heart. You know, Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And if our health journey, our exercise is becoming burdensome, then we're getting something somewhere a little bit out of kilter. So let me share with you what I've learned. Let me give you 5 biblical health principles. And honestly, if you followed these, you could save yourself potentially like 20 years of going down all sorts of rabbit holes and things. So I'm going to give you overarching principles, and for sure in future episodes we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of all sorts of different topics regarding diet and detox and metabolism and health and weight loss and all those things. So 5 biblical health principles. Number 1, health advice needs to be rooted in both truth and grace. Isn't that the same for everything in our walk with the Lord? We can't just chase what's trendy, what's in fashion, what's popular, what's, the truth of science. Going back to my story on the truth of the keto diet, yes, there is a truth that it's a really, really good diet, but it affords little grace in terms of, you can easily be thrown out of ketosis by having an extra apple here or there or a glass of wine, so we need both truth and grace. We need principles that stand the test of time, and that means going back to the wisdom God has already given us in his word. I can count so many times where, as a nutritionist seeking health wisdom, the Bible has given me answers. So the second principle is to pay attention when your health routine starts to feel like a burden or an idol. If it's stealing your peace or crowding out your spiritual life, then it's time to take a step back and assess what's going on. Principle number 3 is sustainable wellness means stewardship over striving. Okay, so caring for your body as a gift, not as some kind of project to perfect. You're made in the image of God, so we are told to be good stewards. We're not told to, build this big project. The world will tell us that we evolved from some cosmic soup, but we know we were fashioned in the image of our wonderful God, handcrafted by him. And so it's our job to steward that body and the life we have well. Principle number 4 is rest as a priority, not a reward. this is something I got wrong for years. I would see that I can only, and it wasn't really conscious, and maybe it's not with you either, but we can sometimes get into this thing of, if I've not done enough, if I've not worked enough, done enough exercise, whatever it might be, then I don't deserve rest. Rest is not a reward. Rest, as I say, is a priority. We need rest. Just as an example, and I'm sure you probably know this, but if you don't get enough sleep, your hunger and satiety hormones, ghrelin and leptin, don't work optimally, and it will cause you to overeat, most likely, because your body will signify hunger owing to lack of sleep. So there's a good example of where if you don't get enough rest, then that has a knock-on effect on your diet and your health. So rest is a priority, not a reward. Honouring Sabbath rhythms and recovery is an important part of that. And the fifth thing is to embrace simplicity over complexity. Choosing habits that are easy to sustain and don't require constant willpower. So, for example, if your exercise regime is like really, really mega difficult and requires a ton of willpower, and you're aching for days and days and days, then it's probably a bit hardcore, and you could do is simplifying that a bit. So if you're wondering where to start, then here's a simple action plan for this week. Pick one habit that you do right now thinking it's healthy. And I phrase it that way because in my experience working with people, there are so many things I see people doing just because they think it's healthy, whether they've read it in some magazine or a friend's doing it. Honestly, if you heard some of the things that I have that people do thinking it's healthy, and it's like, where have you got that from? That's not even healthy, and it's really burdensome to you, and it's not going to give you any good results. So take an assessment of things that you're doing, a habit or two or three that you're doing right now that you think is healthy. Maybe it's doing a number of steps a day, or meal prep, or a morning routine, or taking some kind of supplement, say, and prayerfully bring it to the Lord, and if needs be, simplify it. Remove any unnecessary steps or pressure or guilt. And just as an addition to that, I would say look out for anywhere where there's chaos or noise or distraction. That needs to go as well. So just pick one habit, start with one, and simplify it, streamline it, and do it with joy, not, oh, I've got to go to the gym, oh, I've got to do this. No, take that off your plate. Sometimes the simplest version is the most powerful. This is the heart of Health in Faith, helping you find health that's life-giving, not life-draining, and that actually works with your life as a follower of the Lord Jesus, not something that distracts you from that. Your health journey, your health in general needs to facilitate your walk with the Lord, not your walk facilitating your health journey. So if this episode has resonated with you, then hit follow so you don't miss a new episode. They will be coming out every week, and I will give you practical ways to blend faith and health without the overwhelm and cutting through all the noise and confusion. And I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever had to pivot your own health journey? Feel free to email me or send me a message on Instagram. I'm at Laura Nutritionist, and I may share your story in a future episode. Oh, and don't forget to grab your free Sugar Detox in Faith plan as well. It's linked in the show notes. So until next time, remember, less can truly be more, especially when it's aligned with God's design for your life. I hope today's episode of Health in Faith blessed and inspired you. If it did, would you take just 30 seconds to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts? It means a lot to me and helps others find this life-giving message. Snap a screenshot of your review and email it to me for your free copy of my popular recipe book, Temple Fuel, 40 healthy, high-protein meals to burn fat, energize your walk, and transform your health. Until next time, may God bless your body, your heart, and your walk with Him, and I'll see you back here next week.